Hey everybody. So today I wanted to talk about the subject of ayahuasca, a topic that with each and every passing day is growing in terms of interest and exploration, especially in the Western world. So in this quick little video, ayahuasca is a very big subject, so I'm not going to be able to cover all of the elements of it in one sitting, but in this video I'm just going to cover what is it used for, and a little bit of the history behind its use and its discovery. So, what is ayahuasca? In its most clinical form, it's a vine that grows in the jungle. There are a few different types of this vine which contain beta-carbolines, obviously the monoamine oxidase inhibitors, as well as harmine and some other alkaloids. So this is a beverage that is typically cooked. The vine is taken, it is macerated with a mallet, and it is cooked generally inside of a lot of the Amazonian traditions, the Shipibos, the Mestizos, and a myriad of other Brazilian tribes, the Hunikuan, the Shawanawa, the Yawanawa, and all of these indigenous groups use ayahuasca primarily as a medicine for a tool for being able to connect with the spirits of nature and the divine, as well as their own soul. So it's been used for a very long time. We don't really know for how long, but anyway, typically the way that ayahuasca is understood now is it's the vine, and it's also mixed with some other plants that contain DMT. The scientific name for ayahuasca is Banisteriopsis caapi, or the caapi vine. And often, in the tradition that I was trained, which is the Shipibo tradition, it's combined with the chacruna leaf, which scientifically, its name is Psychotria viridis. Inside of the more of the traditions that originated in Colombia, I believe they're called taitas, they're called some other things. These people I don't really know much about. But I know that they generally use chalipunga in their brew along with the ayahuasca vine, which is what they call yahe. Chalipunga has another scientific name, Diplopteris cabarena, or something of that nature. I'll write it down here so you guys can go and look at this stuff for yourself. So, like I said, this is used as a medicine to fix various problems within the human psyche, the human body, the human spirit, and emotional problems that might arise as well. Other things that it's used for, so just to give some examples, it's a very good parasite cleanser. There are some antidepressant effects that happen as a result of the monoamine oxidase inhibitors that are inside of the vine, and combined with a substance like DMT can provide like a very entheogenic connection to nature and connection to self, connection to, other parts of the unconscious mind, and parts of the mind that are concerned with more abstract levels of representation, as it were. It's a wonderful medicine for being able to gain some sort of therapeutic insight into the inner workings of your own mind, your own psychology, your own unconscious and conscious motivations for things. I would not, even though I'm working with it and I have a great respect and love for this particular healing modality, I am extremely reluctant to paint it as a panacea for being able to heal all kinds of problems. In the realm of made-up percentages, I would say that ayahuasca can cure anywhere from 70 to 75% of any ailment. The exceptions that I would, I'm trying to think of some exceptions in real time that this medicine wouldn't apply to. So I would say if you're trying to cure things like autism, if you're trying to cure personality disorders, if you're trying to cure, what other things? Narcissism. Well, maybe not even narcissism. Psychopathy. If you're a psychopath, it's very unlikely, from my experience, that using this medicine to relieve yourself of any of those three things will not be very useful. Although, you know, if you're a psychopath and you're trying to become empathic, you're probably not as much of a psychopath as you think, but, you know. Okay, now I got lost on that little tangent. Let's talk about some of the history of ayahuasca. So, when was this thing discovered? I would go so far as to call ayahuasca an actual technology, because it is used inside of a medical context many times, and it still is. And so there's a lot of different stories as to the discovery of ayahuasca and how that came about. But the parallels that I've run into when talking with elder indigenous healers is that at some point in time, plants, animals, humans, and the natural world all communicated more tangibly through like a psychic space, through where the communication with spirit was a lot more transparent and a lot more audible, a lot more sensible. And so in that time, the people in the jungle would often ask nature to be able to give certain things, or the spirits of nature would tell the people certain things about, you know, the migration patterns of certain animals, where to find certain food sources, how to build a foundation that wouldn't collapse with the home, and how do we make medicines for the illnesses that we are going to encounter as jungle people. So it seems to appear that one of the common stories that these people tell is that the plants told us how to make this medicine, which for us in the Western world is very hard to, it's a very unpalatable concept, because we are raised in such a spiritually kind of divorced and atrophied state, with a dependence on religion for your spiritual connection, dependence on technology, dependence on materialism, and dependence on all these things that take us away from going inward and really has us focused on the external world. Anyway, so nobody really knows at what point this was discovered. There's some varying things in the anthropological literature about how its use has been, it's been in use for thousands and thousands of years, anywhere from 5,000 years up to, I've seen, you know, speculations of up to 30,000 years ago, where there was something that was uncovered, that was, there was these artifacts that were uncovered that contained ayahuasca paraphernalia, things like tobacco, and traces of ancient ayahuasca. So this could go back potentially about 30,000 years or so, which is quite remarkable, given that, you know, how many things do you know about that are 30,000 years old? I don't think the pyramids might even be that old. You might have to correct me on that, because I'm talking a little bit out of turn here on that subject. But yeah, I mean, ayahuasca is quite old. It's a lot older than grandma, know what I'm saying? And it continues to be used and is useful for a lot of things that modern medicine can have trouble addressing. A lot of people refer to it, myself included, as to it being, you know, like 10 years of therapy in one single sitting, because it kind of bypasses a lot of the unconscious and conscious filters that we have up all the time during the day without even realizing it, and has a habit of being able to get straight to the issue that is troubling you. Sometimes it takes, I mean, oftentimes it takes more than one ceremony. And like I said, it's definitely not a magic pill, because just because you encounter like a bunch of healing inside of like one or two ceremonies, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to bring any sort of change inside of your life. So that is where the concept of integration comes in very handy. But those are other topics. I don't want to go too all over the place, because that is how my brain works. I tend to tangentialize, go on little rants, and then kind of go all over the place. So I would just like to cover what it is, which I'm pretty sure I covered, what's it used for, and some of the history behind it. One more thing I would like to say on the history of it. One of the reasons I tend to believe in the theory that the plants told us how to do it is just with the ubiquity of how all of the Amazonian tribes in Peru, in Brazil, and probably in Colombia all know how to use ayahuasca. And because of the separation between all of the tribes and them being able to run into each other and to be able to share that information was probably fairly unlikely. So it stands to reason for me, and from my own experience with talking with spirits, with talking with other spirits of other plants in conjunction with ayahuasca, it stands to reason that, to me, that theory holds a lot more weight than some of the other theories. It could have been discovered by accident. I am totally willing to accept that as a potential possibility, but the way in which it's cooked and the amount of time and the two plants that don't even grow in the same place most of the time, it seems very, and just given the incredible biodiversity of the Amazon landscape, there's over 150,000 species of plants, and some that we probably still haven't even discovered. And so the spiritual answer, as hokey as it might sound to some people, seems to hold a lot more weight for me personally.